for the pardon. You know, throwing a party at your private golf club where the theme is rich white people, hours before millions of Americans are set to lose their food assistance, might be the Trumpiest Trump move of all time. It felt like the last big bash before the Epstein files come out. The great Fatsby weighed in on the SNAP funding fiasco on his Twitter platform, Truth Social. He wrote, "I do not want Americans to go hungry just because the radical Democrats refuse to do the Epstein files." The gaslighting has reached a fever pitch as Trump cuts off the supply of food to children, families, senior citizens, etc. But Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, wants you to know, just because they're cutting off your food and want to cut off your health insurance, that doesn't mean they don't.
Jimmy Kimmel isn't just hosting a talk show anymore, he's running America's late-night therapy clinic. Every evening he takes the day's political absurdities, blends them with sarcasm, and hands the audience a dose of catharsis. His latest target? The odd political duo of Donald Trump and Mike Johnson. Trump brings the chaos, Johnson brings the quiet compliance. Together they turn politics into a surreal mashup of The Apprentice and a very awkward Sunday school class.
The lack of ticket sales hasn't discouraged the tantrum of the opera one bit. He took a break from posting photos of the new Lincoln toilet to brag about his new Trumpified Kennedy Center. He wrote, "It is really looking good. The exterior columns, which were in serious danger of corrosion if something weren't done, are completed and look magnificent in white enamel." I don't know. He also said white enamel looked magnificent on his son's dental caps. So, sir, could you turn down your teeth a little bit?
Yeah, we're talking about conditions to this disaster. Look, there are natural disasters, but there are man-made disasters as well.
And which one are you?
Trump is the headline, the spectacle, the meteor that refuses to burn out. He blasts into every news cycle like a rock star crashing a hotel lobby, loud, dramatic, and leaving damage behind. And then there's Mike Johnson, smiling politely like a man who joined the wrong Zoom call and never left. Kimmel doesn't exaggerate this duo. Their dynamic practically scripts itself.
You have F. Sharp Fitzgerald lapping it all up with his sidekick, little Marco Rubio. Look at Marco Rubio. It's rare you get to see a photo of someone at the precise moment their soul exits their body. There were all manner of colorful outfits at the party, including this guest who showed up in a prison jumpsuit. It wasn't a costume. Turns out it was.
The contrast is irresistible. Trump talks in exclamation points and half-finished thoughts. Johnson sounds like he's recording an audiobook on staying calm during disasters. Together they embody modern politics, the chaos engine and the control freak. Kimmel simply turns their every appearance into a ready-made sketch.
When Trump took over, he promised he would get rid of all the woke programming at the Kennedy Center and make it hot again. And I have to say, Fatty Lapone has lined up an absolutely magnificent new season of shows.
Hello, everyone. It's your favorite president and Kennedy Center chairman, me, with major news. We've got some fantastic new shows lined up, but I made a few minor changes, just like I did to the East Wing.
Trump rants about witch hunts while Johnson nods so aggressively you can almost hear his neck crack. It's slapstick disguised as leadership. Kimmel dissects their alliance with precision. Trump wants loyal believers, not partners. Johnson acts like politics is a group project where the loudest kid keeps eating glue.
I'm always going to meet. All they have to do is open up the country. Let them open up the country, and we'll meet. We'll meet very quickly. But they have to open up the country. It's their fault. Everything is their fault.
That's right. The buck stops over there.
Kimmel thrives on chaos, catching the absurdity in every photo op and Trump's endless obsession with crowd sizes. Trump glows like a neon sign of self-praise, while Johnson tries to project quiet humility. Together they look like actors who never got the memo that government isn't an improv class.
This morning, he threatened to delay SNAP benefits to the 42 million Americans who need them until the shutdown is over. And then his press secretary had to go out there and walk that back because he legally can't do it. It really is amazing. The president says one thing, the White House says another entirely different. It's like the one hand doesn't know what the other tiny, bruised, makeup-covered, greasy, genitalia-grabbing, Sharpie-stained baby hand
Every time Johnson tries to play moral compass, Trump flips the map upside down. Kimmel revels in the rhythm, one sermon, one slogan, one sudden twist, and we end up right back where we started, Johnson calmly defending chaos. Kimmel jokingly calls it faith-based disaster management. The humor flows easily because their performances clash yet sync perfectly. Trump makes the headlines, Johnson rushes in with footnotes to justify them. And then there's Trump's eternal campaign trail, a traveling circus that doubles as Kimmel's favorite comedy venue. The bright lights, the chants, the recycled slogans, it's half pep rally, half reboot of a reality show. Kimmel says the rallies feel like family reunions where facts never make the guest list. When Johnson steps into that chorus, he looks like he's harmonizing with thunder. The spectacle is pure theater. Trump's charisma pulls the crowd forward while Johnson's calm tone gives everything an accidental veneer of legitimacy. Kimmel plays their contrast like an instrument, Trump's booming bravado followed by Johnson's gentle, scripture-soft delivery. Together they become America's strangest duet, one shouting, "I built everything," and the other whispering, "He means well." Kimmel isn't mocking faith or fame, only the way both get packaged for prime time.
You would think, as people living in an area prone to wildfires, we'd get a bit more sympathy from an elf who lives in a hollowed-out tree, but that doesn't fly in Magaland, I guess. Mike Johnson is such a little kiss-ass. I've been trying to figure out who he reminds of. I think it's this guy, yes. There's Donald and Mike.
Kimmel's demolition is quick and precise. He plays a clip of Trump's latest speech, cuts to a deadpan stare, then fires punchlines like confetti. It's like watching a hurricane ask a Sunday breeze for moral support, he says. The crowd roars because the contrast feels undeniable. Johnson's restraint makes Trump's chaos look even louder, a walking reminder that contradiction isn't a flaw in modern politics, it's the entire brand. Trump's greatest skill, Kimmel notes, is rewriting his own history faster than anyone can fact-check it. Every claim becomes a prophecy conveniently fulfilled after the fact. Johnson's talent is quieter, nodding with the solemnity of a man agreeing with thunder. Kimmel jokes that if Trump claimed to have invented light, Johnson would hold a candlelit vigil in tribute. The satire lands because it captures the sincere absurdity of two men living in entirely different realities yet sharing the same stage. Together, they embody America's hunger for spectacle. Trump speaks in memes, Johnson speaks in metaphors. And somehow, both promise order while performing chaos. Kimmel frames it not as a partnership but a balancing act, one sells outrage, the other sells absolution. In their world, every headline doubles as a punchline, and the show never stops. It simply reloads.
Clearly to every hardworking American in any place who's missed a paycheck, anyone who has been made to suffer because the services, the health services you rely upon, or the food and nutrition supplement for your family, anyone who is hurting, you have a home in the Republican Party.
You have a home in the Republican Party. You'll be living under the stairs like Harry Potter.
Kimmel ends the sketch the same way he always does, not with a lecture, but with a laugh. The crowd follows, laughing not at belief or ambition, but at the pure theater of what they're watching. His demolition isn't personal, it's observational. He isn't tearing anyone down, he's holding up a mirror to the absurdity we all keep tuning into. Kimmel doesn't need elaborate props to explain the strange chemistry between Trump and Johnson. He only needs clips. The footage does all the heavy lifting, Trump booming from the podium like a carnival barker operating at maximum volume, and Johnson behind him nodding as if each exaggeration is divine revelation rather than another comparison to Lincoln. The contrast is sharp enough to slice glass. All Kimmel does is connect the dots. The audience draws the lines between them, and the laughter fills in naturally. In Kimmel's world, the Trump-Johnson pairing isn't a political coalition, it's a buddy comedy that somehow keeps getting renewed. The script never really evolves. Trump improvises freely, Johnson calmly interprets. Together they produce sound bites that break both logic and decibel records. It's the classic loud guy and polite guy trope, except this time the loud guy has a private jet, and the polite guy thinks he's helping shape history. The absurdity writes itself, Kimmel just narrates it.
Hey, you just think about how cruel a person has to be to cut off food to 42 million people. It's the kind of thing that makes you go, oh, no wonder his kids are like that. The guy who never missed a Happy Meal in his life is deciding who gets to eat in this country. So after a federal court ordered them to do it, the Trump administration agreed to pay half the benefits, which is not enough, so we are...
Kimmel jokes that Johnson is the human necktie polished, professional, and instantly flailing the second Trump starts speaking. There's something oddly endearing about Johnson's sincerity, as if he truly believes that with enough prayer and polite phrasing he can turn a political hurricane into a light breeze. Kimmel never mocks the faith itself, only the innocence of thinking you can counsel a storm. Each time Johnson defends Trump, it feels like he's translating chaos into a PowerPoint presentation. Trump bellows, "It's all rigged," and Johnson calmly replies, what he means is he's passionate about fairness. Kimmel calls it the most unintentionally hysterical duet since karaoke night was invented. He imagines Johnson trailing Trump with a broom, sweeping up the metaphors that fall off the stage. When Trump lectures about loyalty, Kimmel sinks into the irony. Trump demands devotion like a monarch whose throne is built entirely from online polls. Meanwhile, Johnson views it all as a moral assignment: stay close, offer guidance, sprinkle forgiveness. Kimmel calls it the world's strangest outreach program, a man of deep faith trying to minister to someone convinced he already owns prime real estate in heaven.
The fact of the matter is, the only man-made part of this disaster is the climate change part of this disaster, which Mike's party pretends does not exist, even though they're having snowball fights on Bourbon Street today. There was snow in Louisiana today. They got 9 inches of snow in Florida today. This hasn't happened in 70 years. A blanket of snow covered the beach, the Florida Panhandle. There was snow from Tallahassee to Pensacola. Children were voluntarily being swallowed by alligators just to stay.
Trump's words are always fireworks, Johnson's are smoke signals. One can't tolerate silence, the other treats it like punctuation. Watching them together is like a marching band rehearsing in a library, noise and nerves constantly battling. Kimmel seizes on that contrast, turning their dynamic into its own punchline. "You know the country's in trouble," he says, when one man quotes the Constitution and the other only quotes himself. He paints their partnership as America's political split personality, the preacher and the performer. Trump speaks straight to the gut, Johnson appeals to the conscience, yet the only compass they truly follow is whichever direction the cameras point. When Johnson tries to mediate Trump's storms, Kimmel spots the comedy instantly. It's like watching someone attempt to referee thunder. Trump scatters grievances like confetti, Johnson quietly counters with talk of unity. One frames every setback as a witch hunt, the other nods like it's all written in scripture. Their chemistry is built on contradiction, one sees enemies everywhere, the other sees lessons. Kimmel wraps it all as the ultimate odd couple pairing. One man wields chaos, the other carries calm, yet together they somehow create perfect political absurdity.
You know, there's a commission that's supposed to review projects like this, preferably before they happen. It's called the Commission of Fine Arts. Their job is to oversee new federal architecture, or it was anyway. Trump fired all of them. They were supposed to advise the president on matters of design and aesthetics to preserve the dignity of the nation's capital, but this is Trump's idea of dignified aesthetics. So Trump was on 60 Minutes last night. He is desperate to try to blame this shutdown of his on the Democrats.
We are now approaching the longest shutdown in American history.
Democrats' fault.
He blurted that out like he's playing Name That Tune or something. Many were surprised to see Darth Renovator on 60 Minutes. You know, 1 year after suing 60 Minutes for editing an interview, Trump sits down with 60 Minutes for an edited.
As the scenes roll, Kimmel sharpens every edge. He jokes that the Trump-Johnson duo proves politics no longer needs scripts, just microphones. The loudest man gets the spotlight, the calmest explains what he really meant. It's a self-sustaining loop of chaos and cleanup, drama, and devotion. Kimmel imagines Johnson at home, exhausted, surrounded by news alerts pinging like smoke alarms, each quoting a new Trump proclamation that somehow outdoes the last. Johnson sits there like a teacher grading homework written entirely in crayon, bright, loud, and missing half the alphabet. He circles each line, murmuring, what he meant was, maybe pray for autocorrect to intervene. Somewhere, Trump is declaring himself the greatest at something no one asked about, and Johnson is rewriting it into a devotional about leadership. Kimmel paints the picture so vividly that the audience can almost see it: Johnson clutching a Bible in one hand, a metaphorical fire extinguisher in the other, watching yet another blaze erupt on live TV. The comedy isn't cruel, it's the absurd ballet of contrast. One man builds fires and calls it warmth, the other runs toward the flames, calling it duty. Yet both insist the house looks perfect. It's not partnership, it's performance art disguised as governance. Kimmel calls it political yoga, Johnson bending into impossible shapes to defend the indefensible, while Trump flexes his ego like a one-man pep rally. The audience laughs because it's familiar. Every office has a Mike Johnson trying to explain away the boss's meltdown. The scene is universal, part sitcom, part survival instinct. Kimmel turns collective exasperation into joy. His jokes are therapy, a reminder that when absurdity becomes normal, the only sane reaction is laughter. By the time he delivers the punchline, Trump and Johnson are metaphors for modern America, the noise and the apology, the storm and the sermon, locked in a waltz that never ends.